Really are going to have to sort out that invisibility problem. Yes, well, Stealth JC is currently in the alien laundrette changing his trousers. We've got other work to do, such as navigating our way past these rapidly expanding and contracting orifices in the floor that, frankly, leave me somewhat jarred. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. XCOM is in a sorry state now. Current command is not exactly up to muster. But up to scratch would probably be a more recognisable term. But who wants to be recognised in today's world? Must be something big in there. Something big, well, some sort of big pumping device. Oh, if only Flash Gordon had found it, he would have died with a smile on his face. One could say that from being killed by a tentaculat, he was in effect given the oral from hell. So I have no doubt that Flash did go out with a smile on his face. Great big goofy and all-American hero smile as the tentacular went to town. All we can really hope... Ah, 2 lobster men. Let's take a pot shot. So those will be 2 nice easy pickings. Got bigger fish to fry right now, however. "23 Penguins 32 Brady, relatively recently in the last couple of months, did a video on his favourite movie director. And I was going to do one of my own. Except I can't honestly say that I have just one favourite movie director. I can't think of one director where I enjoy all of his or her movies that much that I could call him or my favourite director. You know, for instance, if we look at Tarantino, who as a writer isn't all that brilliant, I feel, but as a director, you know, he has a certain motifs. I like Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs. I thought Jackie Brown was excellent. One of the underrated masterpieces of modern cinema. However, I thought that Kill Bill was pretty awful. And I know he disassociates himself from various films. He says he presents films or produces films or such like films that he says he's got no part of, and yet his fingers are all over them. You know, some of those films aren't so good. I'm not a... I liked Inglourious Bastards a lot, but at the same time, I felt that it focused on the bastards too much. It could have been a film about the French Jewish girl and her plot to assassinate Hitler. That would have been far more interesting, and I felt like the efforts of Brad Pitt and the rest of the bastards were ultimately for naught, you know? Anyway, aside from that, who else do I like? I really like Martin Scorsese. I do like Martin Scorsese movies, but again, there are some Martin Scorsese movies that I'm not a huge fan of. I love Raging Bull, and I love Goodfellas and Casino. Anything with Robert De Niro in is generally a winner by me. I'm sure someone will point out an awful Robert De Niro film now that I don't like it. Anyway, I had to settle for one. If I had to settle for one, I would probably have to settle for Darren Aronofsky. I am a huge fan. There are few films that have moved me as much as Requiem for a Dream did. It is a truly brilliant film that deals with addiction and how it can seriously screw up your lives. And whether it's addiction to television, drugs, whatever. Food, money. It is the film that, in a way, I feel Trainspotting should have been. And I know Trainspotting was based on a novel, and it's not that dissimilar to the novel. But I find Trainspotting far too optimistic a story, whereas Requiem for a Dream is, to me, more the story of what addiction does to you. You know, it doesn't end up with lots of laughs. I also enjoyed Pi as another underrated movie, and I don't mean the food Pi, I mean Pi as in Pi R squared, as in 3.14 recurring. But we're getting off the subject of XCOM. But yes, I would vote Darren Aronofsky. I enjoy his style of directing. I enjoy the way he cuts movies together. It's just something I particularly like. I also very much enjoyed The Wrestler. I saw it when I was in America one time, and I went to the cinema. I was by myself. I had nothing else to do, so I went to the cinema and watched The Wrestler on the big screen, and it was superb. I've spent a lot of the time recently just talking about directors, so let's focus on what's in front of us. What is in front of us? Well, Craven the Hunter is, and so is Kenneth Williams. Kenneth Williams is already in his head drafting his application form for XCOM Captain. And Tyrant, being a big dumb brute, is doing the same thing, completely unaware that there's no way, no chance in hell, Stone Cold Steve Austin, that he will ever get the job. You know, there are jobs like that in real life too. Those sorts of things that are dangled in front of you that you know you'll never get. But I'm not bitter. We can't let this thing sort of get personal. I do find these sorts of areas of the colony where those sort of purple nipple things are in high volume quite disturbing. You know, what do the purple nipples denote? Why are they there? What do they do? Why are they in huge proximity in that particular area? Answers on a postcard. Hell, can anybody name what any of these things are? Except for the alien implanter, that's the huge plunger thing, which they very much do stick humans on in order to get things implanted into them to turn them into deep ones or whatever. I think it was the calcinite that isn't actually a person, isn't a human being that's been turned into an alien monstrosity. It's pretty much just a sack of shit given sentience. Which is something to add to the role-playing game, I think. We won't call it a calcinite, we'll just call it sentient sack of shit. Which is an ooze that I've never used in Dungeons and Dragons before. Ochre jellies come quite close, I suppose. More doors. Stopped and started the recording again. But when I said Mordor, I don't mean Mordor as in Osgiliath and so forth. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Tolkien, you know. You didn't? Oh, well, that's interesting, because no, I'm not. I like the films, and this may sound utterly sacrilegious, but I don't enjoy the Lord of the Rings novels. I find them quite dull, if I'm quite honest. I suppose I compare them to the George R. Martin novels, Song of Ice and Fire, which, in my opinion, are brilliant. They're fantastic fantasy novels. And the novels of Michael Moorcock as well, Elric of Melniboné being probably the most famous, and Dorian Hawkmoon, Aarakocra, all of those novels, I think, are very, very interesting. I like that kind of cynicism in a fantasy novel, where characters can die quite readily, where your protagonist isn't necessarily safe. Admittedly, I find with Moorcock that an awful lot of his characters are so whiny and emo and all look a corrupted self that, you know, they can be painful to read, but at the same time I can go back and read them again and again. Anyway, that's my preferred fantasy fiction. Of course, can't beat a bit of fighting fantasy, my favourite being House of Hell, or at least the most scary being House of Hell. Based a role-playing game on it once. I crossed Rocky Horror with Scooby-Doo and House of Hell. It worked perfectly as a Halloween special. Also did Garth Marenghi's Dark Place using All Flesh Must Be Eaten. If you've never seen Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, do look it up. Superb series. So, Tyrant appears to have stumbled upon the Synomium device. He grunts. Oh, he doesn't quite understand what it means. 150 Booyah Dragon has also appeared. She says nothing, being stealthy and invisible, you know, speaking like below its cover. Is 150 Booyah Dragon a male or a female? According to his avatar, it's female. Avatar in this. Couldn't speak for his avatar on YouTube. So when the ranks of XCOM are completely and entirely filled up with YouTubers, will that result in some kind of two black holes facing each other, kind of end of the universe kind of thing? Probably not. Harmonsgrad there, still grinding his teeth, still pissing off any aquanauts that are near him. Also joining in the fun with the alien Synomium device. Gallus Man also been very quiet. Sacre bleu. Mange tu. Cul-de-sac. Couldn't have said it better. I've been to France. Many a time. Don't mind it. Prefer Belgium. There you go, that's my synopsis of France. Of France. Now, Aaron Sun has been acquitting herself quite well compared to her previous incarnation in this game. Not that the previous one was bad, she just wasn't very good. You know, she wasn't brilliant. You know what I forgot? I got Tyrant to move on, forgetting about those two lobstermen that stood up, that he shot at once. Gonna have to go back there at some point, because I've forgotten where that was. But in the meantime, Stealth JC can start making his JC Denton walk towards the Synomium device. Now, I haven't actually played Deus Ex 3 yet. I'd like to at some point, but to be honest, most of the video games I play now, I just play to record them. I just don't get much time to play a game just to play it. With pretty much all the games you see me playing, I don't play any further than what you see, because I don't want it to look like I'm cheating or anything like that. I'm not. I don't cheat on these games. I don't try and get ahead and find out what's going to happen next. I will just play it and hope for the best. Which is probably why these things work. I mean, I don't get thousands of viewers on these videos, but hundreds enough. 100's enough.